The James Show Podcast.
Another tragedy. It's going to keep happening until the rhetoric stops. You've heard me say this before. Don't expect this to be the last one. Hi, I'm James Parker. Nice to meet you. How you doing? So yeah, 2 dead, 2 injured at another attack on another ICE facility. This is the 3rd time it's happened in Texas this year, not to mention all the other violence against ICE agents that have happened in other states. And I'm not happy about this. I'm not happy that I'm right. And it's not me. I'm not saying, oh, look at me, I predicted the future. Dude, mouth breathers could have predicted this. Everybody that is being honest with themselves is predicting this. I don't know one person and Team Red Talk Radio that didn't predict this, actually. I heard a bunch of people saying, well, both sides. Stop. You have to stop. The both sides argument has to stop. The Nazi talk, the fascist talk, the Hitler talk, that has to stop. And the both sides is important because both sides, whenever you can feed that to someone who thinks, the other side's evil and Hitler, that allows them to continue that way of thinking. That allows them to not actually be self-reflective, be introspective, and say, well, maybe I should back off some of this language. Maybe there is some sort of connection there. Because absolutely there's a connection there. Barack Obama deported more people than Trump did. He's the deporter in chief. And in fact, I think he holds the American history record for most deportations. ICE agents were getting shot at then. So it's not even really about the deportations. It is about the media feeding them. It's about their thought leaders feeding them, their professors feeding them this lie that the other side's a fascist, that you're a fascist, that Trump is a fascist, that ICE is fascist. They're literally the Gestapo. And I don't blame the politicians for this. Politicians are going to say whatever it takes to get in power and stay in power. They say whatever it takes to get the people riled up and to the voting box. They say whatever it takes to stay in power and to win elections and to demonize the other side. The media is supposed to hold them to account. The media is supposed to say that is a bridge too far. The media is supposed to call them out on it. Just like the media calls out anybody who says an ethnic slur. Just like the media called out Rush Limbaugh when he said Sandra Fluke was behaving in a manner similar to a prostitute when she was asking to be compensated for her sex life. A lot of people thought that was a bridge too far. But the media is not calling them out. The media is leading the hyperbolic rhetoric. The media is right alongside with them. They're the ones who are supposed to be the guardians. Those are the ones who are supposed to moderate the public conversation. And instead of trying to throw water on a fire, they throw gas on a fire. So expect this to continue. Not shocked. Sad to say, I am not shocked. Now let's go through what we know about this. About the shooting itself, we learned most of that at the press conference this morning. You probably heard it on the Casey show, Casey Bartholomew. We learned a little bit about the shooter after this, but let's just go over it. First, I want to play for you how our mayor opened up the press conference with an invitation to prayer. I thought that was kind of nice.
Let me start off by saying that I'm a person who believes very, very strongly in the power of prayer and that prayer changes things. And so I'm going to ask everyone, please join me in praying for the families of the folks who lost their lives today. Pray for the speedy recovery for those who are hurt and were injured in what happened today.
Yeah, that's a good start. I like hearing that. Because that's the opposite of what you hear from a lot of people. What about your thoughts and prayers? People that mock thoughts and prayers. Like when they did that, they just did it a couple weeks ago. This isn't about thoughts and prayers. Screw your thoughts and prayers. Thank you, Mayor, for starting off on that note. Being a human being for 5 seconds. Your Dallas Police Chief Como did a quick synopsis of the shooting.
Today at approximately 6:40 a.m., we received a assist the officer call. We responded to the call, got to the scene, and we later learned that we had 4 individuals that were shot, 2 of them deceased, including the shooter. The DPD was able to locate the shooter who was deceased.
All right, so there's the quick synopsis. There was a little more that was expanded upon by the ICE director. He's over this whole region here. His name is Joshua Johnson.
Good morning. My name is Joshua Johnson. I'm the acting field office director for ICE Dallas. I'll be brief with my comments, but I do want to start off by saying thank you to the Dallas Police Department, Dallas FBI, HSI, CBP, ATF, and virtually every law enforcement officer in North Texas for your support. This is the second time I've had to stand in front of you and talk about a shooter at one of my facilities, and I think that the takeaway from all of this is that the rhetoric has to stop. There are people out there who are seeing what is being placed online, and they're coming and they're doing acts of violence against ICE employees. So that's kind of all I have for today is that.
Okay, and then the other clip here. This is Joe Rothrock. He's the SPAC, special agent in charge of the FBI office here in Dallas.
I can confirm at this time that the FBI is investigating this incident as an act of targeted violence. It is unfortunately just the most recent example we've seen of targeted violence, to include here in North Texas, where back on July 4th, we saw a coordinated attack carried out against an immigration detention center in Alvarado, Texas. What I can also share with you is that early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature.
All right, so there's the quick summary here. The shooter, dead. One other person dead. He reported 2 wounded, but I've seen some of the captions on TV say just 1 wounded at this point. I think the takeaway from the ICE facility guy, right on the money. The rhetoric has to stop. That was Joshua Johnson, by the way. The rhetoric has to stop. And it didn't. It didn't stop after Trump was shot. It didn't stop after the other ICE attacks. It didn't stop after Charlie Kirk got shot in the head. It's going to keep happening till they stop. Buckle up. I mean, I assume it's a leftist murder. It said anti-ICE on it. So unless it's a guy who's trying to masquerade as an anti-ICE person, I don't think it's jumping the gun too much. My next guest, a guy who's proven himself good in times of pressure here, retired Lieutenant Colonel Darren Gobbs back on the James Show. Thanks for coming back. I wish it was for better circumstances here. But
yeah, Dave James, thanks for having me on. I get it. Don't we all wish the same?
Well, Darren, I put this not as an isolated incident from some crazy guy who's just a psychopath. This is now an established pattern. What do you make of it?
Absolutely. I think it's an established pattern. I don't think he operated on his own totally. I mean, there's always a supporting cast behind these guys. They knew too much about the facility and their timing and the things they did. When you look at his social media, I did a background check on him and just kind of checked him out. Most of these guys are really not capable of performing the kind of reconnaissance and early checks and various things that are necessary to know what's happened. So I suspect they'll find another network just like they did in Utah that's behind this. But this guy is clearly a leftist. The question is, was he just the useful idiot, I guess, again, that was expendable in order to try to achieve something here? And thank God he was unable to kill anybody in law enforcement. But the fact that anybody died is, of course, a tragedy. And this is a pattern. I do not see it slowing down anytime soon. But we should not react in kind, because that's exactly what they want.
Well, When you say there had to be some sort of support or help for this guy, I don't think that's much of a stretch. In total, 16 people have been charged in the ambush style shooting that happened at the Alvarado ICE facility. So, do you think this is something like that? Do you think someone helped him plan it out, or do you think he was just part of some discussions in online groups, or how far do you think the planning goes?
Yeah, difficult to tell this early in the reporting cycle and as the facts develop. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was small as a couple or three people, just so they keep a right number of eyes on the facility and see what patterns are, and then develop whatever their plan was from there. Or it could be more. But it wouldn't take a huge team to do this. I just severely doubt that he was doing this on his own, and that's just from gut instinct. I don't have evidence to prove that statement. But the pattern also is that the idea of a lone wolf who does everything by themselves, despite the fact that they have zero training on the surface, I find it fairly incredulous for now. I'm prepared for anything, but not going to be surprised if you're looking at a team. Even a small team. No,
and we don't know if that's true, but that would make sense if it was. What did you see on his social media? The guy's name is Joshua John. Some people are reporting that he's from Fairview originally, but he's kind of moved around a little bit, and that's about all I've picked up on this guy. What do you know?
Yeah, Fairview, Texas is his latest address and location that I've gone on his background check. He's got about 6 more locations that are listed as known addresses in the past, and I don't have them in front of me, but there's a few states on that list. But as you go to his social media, what you see is the typical fairly leftist rant type of posts, plus the profile pictures and pages and stuff like that. You see the communist flag, hammer sickle type of stuff with rather than his personal photo, that kind of thing. So
really.
It doesn't surprise me, of course, and it shouldn't surprise anybody when this kind of thing, this kind of act is done by someone who's at least on the surface right now an avowed leftist ideologically. But we should always be prepared to see if someone's just getting used.
Sure. Well, social media,
sacrificial lamb.
Social media is so brutal because. I didn't find his page, but when I was looking for it earlier, I don't know, maybe they had already taken it down or something. But I ended up seeing a whole lot of people who were doing research into him and then doing research into his mom and then going through his mom's social media posts and taking screenshots. And boy, for an incident that happened, just 7 hours ago or so, look at how fast we've been able to stack up the investigation on this kind of thing so far. Yeah. And it's been my observation that so much of the reporting we get on this first day is wrong. But man, people just run out there and they put it all out there and they throw everything against the wall whenever these events happen. It's been real interesting to see the human evolution in response to these events.
Oh, for sure. And I think a lot of people have come to the conclusion that they trust the news so little, and for good reason, that every citizen needs to essentially be part of the news. And I've written about this in my book too, about every single human being that has a cell phone taking video and audio recordings and observing the things they see and bringing it all together often can paint some aspect of the picture of what happened far more accurately than some in the law enforcement community will try or appear, or it'll make it look like they're trying to cover something up. And that doesn't mean that social media is the place to arbitrate truth and lies or fiction, because we don't want people going off the rails and advertising things that aren't even remotely possible. We saw that with the Charlie Kirk shooting. There was a lot of garbage out there. So it's a mix, but ultimately in the end, what we can't do on the conservative patriotic spectrum of philosophies in the United States is react violently ourselves on any of the reports we get, regardless of how accurate they may or may not be. Because I think ultimately there are a lot of people that want us to do that and provide an excuse for government at some level to continue to curb people's Second Amendment and other rights as a result, and use what we do as an excuse. So,
yeah, well,
I'm firmly, yeah.
I hear you on that one, Darren. It's a tough day, but that's a good warning. We should probably keep that in mind. Lieutenant Colonel Darren Gobb, thanks for being on the James Show again. You can find him on Substack. He's got a book out, Veritas Vincent. Go check him out online. He at GAUB. It pops right up. Thank you, Darren.
Hey, thanks, James.
How many of these are we going to see? Because if you actually diagnose the problem correctly and you put it in the full context it deserves, you know what the real problem is. And it's not leftist, period. Leftists are allowed to exist. Leftists weren't shooting at ICE facilities when Barack Obama was deporting 5 million people, so they're not even legit upset about deportations. They've just had this hatred of Donald Trump, of the country, of the right wing, of you, anybody perceived to be Team Red, that's just been sharpened, like laser sharpened, like you could shave your face with it. And so this amount of hatred ginned up and pointed in one direction is my diagnosis on why we keep seeing this over and over. So we can add this to the list here. The shooting at the ICE facility in Dallas comes just not too long after we had the shooting ambush at the ICE facility in Alvarado. We had the shooting of 3 law enforcement officers at the ICE facility in McAllen. And then we can just add it to the other list of things that we've seen in the last just year or two. We don't even have to go back to when the Dallas cops were murdered at a BLM rally in 2016 or the GOP baseball practice was shot up in 2017. We can just look in the last 2 years. And you can see there's a big problem here with pro-Palestinians, blowtorching people in Boulder, shooting the Jewish diplomats in D.C., running over people on Bourbon Street, Luigi Mangione murdering the United Health CEO, 2 Trump assassination attempts, the anti-Christian mass murder at the Catholic schools in Nashville and Minneapolis, the last year's attempted mass murder at Joel Osteen's church, which doesn't make it on the list because the security guards took out the illegal immigrant trans-free Palestine activist that was trying to shoot up the Christians. So that's not going to make it on the both sides argument. Yeah, the anti-Christian mass murder at the Waukesha Christmas parade. Antifa was rolled up in so many of these. And again in this one, much like the Charlie Kirk assassination. Messages were scratched or written on the bullets. Now, I saw the bullets because Kash Patel shared the pictures that were sent to him. And so while we don't have the motives like absolutely 100% nailed down, it's looking like it fits in this larger context of what we got going on. One guy that does seem to get it, Senator Ted Cruz. This was him in Dallas at the press conference about the ICE shooting that happened this morning.
This needs to stop. Violence is wrong. Politically motivated violence is wrong. It was 2 weeks ago today that we saw a political assassination in Utah that tore the heart out of much of this country. This is the 3rd shooting in Texas directed at ICE or CBP. This must stop. To every politician who is using rhetoric demonizing ICE and demonizing CBP, stop. To every politician demanding that ICE agents be doxxed and calling for people to go after their families, stop. This has very real consequences. Look, in America, we disagree. That's fine. That's the democratic process. But your political opponents are not Nazis.
Too bad we're not the ones that need to hear that message. Too bad the people that need to hear that message probably don't like Ted Cruz and wouldn't listen to what he says. We can't fix this. This isn't going to stop until they fix themselves. That's the tough part of it. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next on The James Show, Stephen Williford from the Gun Owners of America We're going to have a nice little sit down with him because there's been a lot of talk about gun control with violence that's been happening recently, and it's going to happen after this one. Someone's not going to blame the ideology of the person with the gun. They're going to blame the gun. One of the reactions that we want them to have is to stop with the rhetoric and tone it down and stop calling people Hitler. But I think what we can really expect is deflection, both sides, and the attempt to blame this on guns. My next guest, Stephen Williford, he's with an excellent group, Gun Owners of America, one of the country's largest gun rights organizations. Welcome back to the James Show. Thanks for coming back on. And let's just point out that this shooting, Charlie Kirk shooting, both of them done with bolt action hunting rifles, not assault rifles, not concealed carried handguns, not bought with the gun show loophole. So I don't even know where they come up with this gun control angle, but you know it's going to happen, Stephen.
Yeah, they're going to ask for gun control, absolutely.
So what's your response? You have this debate more than I do. What would you say to the person that says, see, this is evidence that we need gun control? As long as you people don't control guns, you're wanting this to happen. You're allowing this to happen.
Well, first and foremost, I have actually saw some of the gruesome pictures of the guy that did the shooting, and he deleted himself as such. And by him was a Mauser 98. Model 98 Mauser, World War II gun, and it was very likely, I think, is a 8mm Mauser, and the left is saying, oh, these are untraceable guns. Yes, there's untraceable guns all over the United States, and you can ban all the guns you want. You'll never get the untraceable guns or...
God, Stephen, I hate having this argument with people who are arguing in bad faith. Who cares if the gun's traceable or not? Oh, how would that have stopped this?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. You know, if you ban guns, you're not going to be able to find ever K98 Mauser from World War II or whatever, and the bad guys aren't going to turn their guns in. And, you know, most of the good guys like myself won't either. So what are you doing? You're disarming law-abiding citizens, which just never works out for you. And look how ridiculous this is. Apparently, he was just firing at people that he saw within a facility, and he wrote on all the ammunition anti-ICE rhetoric, and he shot detainees. You know, he didn't even shoot ICE agents. He shot detainees. The rhetoric has to come down because multiple times they said, this is the modern day Gestapo. This is Gestapo. Oh, my goodness. You know, with that kind of rhetoric, somebody mentally ill will say, oh, if I have the chance to stop Hitler and the Gestapo now, maybe I should do it. And they always talk about the fact that, you know, that Trump is Hitler and a danger to our democracy, and we don't even live in a democracy. They know so little about our form of government.
Yeah, well, the proximity to this I find a little concerning. I mean, I'm broadcasting from what I guess is about 5 miles away, so this is as close as one of these things has happened to me, unless you go back to the BLM rally that happened downtown here where 6 cops were shot. I don't even want them to bring up the gun control thing. I roll my eyes so hard at it because it dodges the real issue here, the rhetoric and the fact that it's all coming from one side. I think those were far more at fault than an antique gun that's older than my dad.
Absolutely, absolutely. The rhetoric is what's driving these crazy people to go out. And the left is mad and crazy. They are absolutely unhinged. They can't believe that they lost in an election. And, you know, the farther left they keep swinging, the farther, you know, sane people within the Democratic Party is going to say, oh, that's not what I'm voting for. You know, and the more they lose, the more they come unhinged. And they start calling, you know, things, calling for violence. So many of them, the politicians are saying, you know, calling for violence. And how ridiculous.
I am sad to say, we're talking with Stephen Williford from Gun Owners of America. I expect this trend to continue until the language changes, and it's not changing. I expect more of these. Am I too pessimistic, Stephen?
Well, I sure hope you're wrong, but I'm not going to say you are. I sure hope you are wrong, and I don't know what to do. I will tell you, as for me and my family, we are going to carry a gun everywhere we go. Please go to gunowners.org, sign up and be part of the solution. Start carrying a gun, start exercising your Second Amendment. I hate to say the world gets more dangerous. You need your own protection.
Well, your backstory on how you got rolled all into this, and for the people who are just hearing you for the first time, talk about your story from 2017.
So November 5th, 2017, and it's coming up on 8 years ago, a madman came into First Baptist Church in Sutherland Springs, started shooting through walls and windows of a 100-year-old church, murdering people. He moved in and started going from pew to pew. I grabbed an AR-15, a handful of ammunition, and ran across the street. He had on Class 3 body armor and ballistic bulletproof helmet. I got out. I got into a gunfight with him. He hit the truck in front of me, shattered the windshield of the car behind me, hit the house behind me, and I put 6 out of 6 rounds on him. I won the gun battle, and he lost.
That's how you do it. This is the way. This is how you stop mass shooters. A good guy with a gun. This mass shooting stopped when good guys with the gun showed up. When the cops located him and were walking toward him, he just turned the gun on himself and ended it. That's the lesson. Now, that's the lesson after the shooting already happens. What do you think the lesson is to prevent more of these in the future?
Well, like you were talking about earlier, tone down the rhetoric. Absolutely. There are people out there with mental health issues, and I understand that. And the way they talk about this administration, and they have no founding for what they're saying other than they lost the election, and they're not happy with it. And they keep cranking up the rhetoric to drive the left side crazy. And that's what's happening is they're pushing people over the edge.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking time on this terrible situation here. I hope some people are going to get the message. Stephen Williford, Gun Owners of America. Appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you. God bless.
All right. I'd really like to have him on when it's a better situation here, but, you know, we talk to him when there's someone's coming after your gun rights. It's going to be so frustrating because we already know it's coming. We already know it's going to happen. And we already know it's false. We already know this was a gun from World War II. Does anyone have a gun control proposal that they've put on the table that would take that out of circulation? So what are they even talking about? But it's going to happen. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. More on what we know about the shooter at the Dallas ICE facility this morning. Coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.